Hello, it's Simon from Film Stories. A story has landed, and I'm reading it off my very own website here, about a sequel being ordered. In fact, three sequels basically being ordered for the film 10 Things I Hate About You. Now, the original 10 Things I Hate About You, which is loosely based on William Shakespeare's Taming of the Shrew, came out in 1999, starred Julia Stiles and the late Heath Ledger as well, directed by Gil Younger, and it's great. It's a really, really good 1999 teen rom-com based on, well, the screenplay was done by Karen McCullough and Kirsten Smith, and you also find in the ensemble as well Joseph Gordon-Levitt's here in the mix of it. And I mean, it did well. I mean, if we look at the numbers, it's a 13 million budget apparently, which returned 50 odd million at the box office, but you can find it now on streaming services all over the place, and it's just it really stacks up well. 1999 was great for a lot of movies of this ilk. I mean, Election was 1999 as well, Cruel Intentions too. But in the case of 10 Things I Hate About You, there was a plan for a follow-up movie. And so in terms of what's being talked about at the moment, reading this report, it says that Gil Younger, who was talking to People, has come up with three more films along with the original producer of the film, Andrew Lazar. So those would be 10 Things I Hate About Dating, 10 Things I Hate About Marriage, and 10 Things I Hate About Kids. Now, these haven't been green-lit yet. Casting's not underway. And so we don't know if, like, Julia Stiles will come back into it or anything like that. But there is a clear intention now to go back to 10 Things I Hate About You and do something else with it. The thing is, this is a really odd story because there is already a sequel of which at least part of it, at least half an hour, has been filmed. It is a film called 10 Things I Hate About Life. And the story of it is a strange one, really, because it was clear after a while that there was interest in doing another 10 Things I Hate About You film. Producer Andrew Lazar was involved in that as well. So was Gil Younger. And in November 2012, we got the announcement that Evan Rachel Wood was going to be leading 10 Things I Hate About Life. Hayley Atwell, pre very famous Hayley Atwell. Hayley Atwell had originally been cast in the film, but dropped out for reasons unknown. Evan Rachel Wood signed up. Elodie Young also signed up as well. And then Thomas McDonnell was announced in December 2012 to take the male lead in the film. Also in the ensemble, do you remember The Rocketeer from 1991? Well, Billy Campbell now from that. He was appearing in the film. Adam David Thompson, Mitch Rouse, BJ Britt. And the distribution rights were picked up fairly quickly by a company called Vision Films. And so this was coming together at, it'd taken like a decade to get this far, but there was a degree of speed once things started moving. So let's pick the story up. The plot was going to be about a young couple who meet as each is contemplating suicide. That the template appeared to be William Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet to a degree, which would make sense. 10 Things I Hate About You being based loosely on Shakespeare as well. But it was unclear whether it was going to mirror Romeo and Juliet to any degree. But production did get underway. In December 2012, Gil Younger again directing the film, and shooting took place over the course of a few weeks. In fact, I mean, it's not too tricky to find. I mean, I'll pull up the details here to find like set reports and things like that. Well, just like photos of the film and just evidence of its existence as well. Reading a whole list of news stories here. Ezra Masters is filming here. You've got Janet Montgomery joining on. Hayley Atwell was originally announced in May 2012. I mean, over the course of about six, seven months, there was a lot of news about it. And then the start of production was formally announced in December 2012. But you don't need me to tell you, we've not seen 10 Things I Hate About Life in spite of this shooting. And so things started to go awry in early 2013. And so Hollywood trade outlet Deadline was reporting that it was a bunch of reasons, really. One was a company called In Tandem, which was one of the companies behind the film. And at this stage, it was starting to report financial losses. Its CEO, a man called Gary Smith, stepped down from his role, and In Tandem needed to make fairly swift changes just to stay in business. Now, it was unclear whether this was related to the announcement at the same time, also landing in early 2013, of a delay hitting 10 Things I Hate About Life, that production was stopping on the movie. Well, that's unusual. I mean, once a film gets going, it's so much work to remount something when filming stops that generally the attitude is, by hook or by crook, we will get this shot, and then we'll sort it in post-production or whatever. This time, the film had to stop shooting. There was another reason as well. In Tandem told Variety, in fact, that it was to do with the fact that Evan Rachel Wood was pregnant. And so, given that she was the romantic lead in the film, it would be quite difficult to hide the pregnancy. And so they put filming on hold. So a couple of plausible reasons, really. And she gave birth in July of 2013. The idea was get the film shooting again by the autumn of that year. Then there was another delay, which knocked things back towards the end of 2013. And then the lawsuits started coming. And that's when, let's just say, the fit really started hitting the shan. And so the umbrella company of the film was called 10 Things Films, LLC. Now, umbrella companies are not unusual. Most studios will set up an individual company for a film, meaning, I mean, it's just a prudent thing to do, because if one film does financially very badly, it then doesn't threaten the whole rest of the studio. In the case of independent movies, such as this one, it just makes sense anyway, because you've got to centralize the money somewhere. And so there was a lawsuit in which 10 Things Films LLC alleged that they exercised their contractual right to halt the production briefly in January 2013, but were then informed, it said in this lawsuit, by Evan Rachel Wood, that she would be unable to shoot again until November. I will come back to that shortly. Because while that was going on, Vision Films, remember them, one of the other companies involved here, was showing off half an hour of footage. That, I mean, it took it to the American film market, and you take your film to the American film market, try to get investors, try to get distribution. And so it had half an hour of the movie that it could confidently show. And it announced at the point it was showcasing this footage in December that filming would recommence in December 2013. This would be a year-long break since the first chunk of the film had been shot, but again, not insurmountable. I mean, we've just gone through actors' strikes a year or two ago here, and lots of films have had to pick up 6-7 months down the line. So it was unclear. I dug around. I couldn't find out if they got further investment at the American film market, but then there was a post from an outlet called Wire Service that said filming was getting back underway in February 2014. So you've got a couple of things going on that are delaying things here. Number one is you've got a lead actor who's given birth and various conversations about when she would return to work. Then you've got in the background a kind of financial murkiness to it, that it was unclear whether the funds were in place to complete the film. And so this Wire Service post that went up, I mean, it was deleted fairly quickly. So could it have been an error? Was it reporting on a press announcement that had been sent out? Did they have insider knowledge? I don't know. I mean, there's not a lot of record really of anything else that happened related to that particular date, February 2014. And if anything at this stage, it looked like this is like shaky. This might not get going again after all. And again, incredibly rare that a film can showcase half an hour of footage and then not get completed. But by June 2014, remember that lawsuit? I hit the microphone to prove it. Remember that lawsuit? Well, that was filed in June of 2014, and Evan Rachel Wood was now firmly in its crosshairs. And so, way to keep your lead star on board, you take them to court. And so, this suit cited that Evan Wood and a company called As You Wish Productions, which is described as, quote, a loan-out company that provides Wood's professional services. Again, lots of acting talent have companies by which to put their sell basically their acting and creative and artistic services. But this lawsuit said that As You Wish Productions Inc. It alleged that they'd been paid $300,000 for Evan Rachel Wood to star in the film. And then it said she, quote, seemingly changed her mind about desiring to complete the film during principal photography, ultimately refusing without any legal justification to fulfill her contractual obligations and instead opting to walk out on the project. That is a seismic allegation, and there's not an awful lot to back it up, certainly that I could find. The suit did note that she completed 4 weeks of initial filming and, quote, she expressly represented to producer that for personal reasons, she was unable and unwilling to continue with principal photography at present time and would be unable to recommence principal photography until approximately November 2013. She's having a baby. I do not think that's unreasonable at all. She was having a child and going back to work 6 months after having a child. How unusual is that? Not really. So then the suit went on and came more allegations about Evan Rachel Wood and saying that she was refusing to come back to the film, and he then demanded $30 million and a trial by jury, which I would suggest looks on the ambitious side, given what looks, to my eyes, I'm not a lawyer, the flakiness of some of the allegations it was putting forward. And, you know, to be fair to Evan Rachel Wood, she responded quickly. She put out a statement to the Hollywood Reporter calling out the suit as, quote, preposterous and simply a bullying tactic from financially troubled producers, she alleged. She also alleged that the production shut down in February 2013 when the producers ran out of money. So here you've got this thing. You've got clearly a completed script. I mean, that much is a given. I mean, if we look at the script to the film was penned by Jeanette Iser, Gil Younger and Tim McGrath. And I mean, that bit was done. You had a director, you had a poster, you had a trailer. A trailer's come out for the film, and you had all of this footage as well. I mean, the trailer, which I'm showing you bits of here, I mean, it just puts across the impression of this is a film ready to go. I mean, this shouldn't have been a very, very long shoot. Really, a couple of months? And so they must have got a fair amount of the way through it. I mean, I can't find particular sources for the budget. I'm seeing some that suggest 60 million, something like that. That looks unlikely to me. But again, I wasn't in the trenches on the film, so I couldn't say that. Evan Rachel Wood, her statement continued that say even after her allegation that the producer ran out of money, she said Evan agreed to resume production in November 2013, by which time the producers said they would have cleared up their issues. However, it wrote, the producers still could not get their act together, nor did they pay Evan money that was owed. Enough is enough, her statement concluded. The producers, not Evan, have breached contract. And so, I mean, I've written about this a few times, and I just keep hitting dead ends whenever I try and contact any of the people involved. I mean, Vision Pictures around 20, I tried to track them down, about 6-7 years ago, got nowhere with it. Got nowhere with it with representation for Gil Younger. I've not tried just ahead of the release of this video, but it's quite interesting that he's now got these other projects going. And also, I mean, I searched for, the suit was said to have been filed in the California Superior Court. And so I queried its website, couldn't really find anything there. It just looked like the litigation had fizzled out with both sides throwing an assortment of allegations at each other. The collateral damage in the middle of it was this film that just did not exist. And Vision Films, for a while, some of it clearly existed. In fact, Vision Films had put on its website that the film had an approximate 90-minute running time. Now, that doesn't mean it was finished, but it might have been. I can't find evidence in the end that shooting recommenced, that the second block of filming was done. And it would seem unlikely given the legal stuff that was going backwards and forwards. And so 10 Things I Hate About Life is, my best guess is an unfinished movie that was killed by lawsuits and a lack of money. Now, Vision Films kept it going for a while. It put on its website that it was now planning to put the film out in 2014. It had a synopsis for the movie, but it's not. I mean, it's not appeared. It's never going to appear. This has been recorded, 11 years on from now, and everybody seems to have just kind of moved on. There's 10 things. It didn't mean that there weren't further attempts to get it going, that the American film market, I think 10 Things I Hate About Life went there a couple of times to try and drum up funds, but nothing. And in the end, Andrea Lazar and Gil Younger moved on to a project called Dog's Best Friend. And there was a bunch of other projects they were working on. And I wonder if one of the reasons they've not been able to progress anything beyond 10 Things I Hate About You in that lineage is simply because this lawsuit and these legalities had to play out. And so the point that we sit here, there's been no news on the film for about 5-6 years or so. And there's just, no sign that the lawsuits ever went to court, that no one was proven guilty or otherwise, or whatever. Just a lot of words being traded and all a bit unsavory, really. But a lost movie, which makes it interesting that enough must have cleared up for them to be able to press ahead and get 3 more films going. And it's not a big leap of faith to suggest that 10 Things I Hate About Dating, 10 Things I Hate About Marriage, and 10 Things I Hate About Kids will have nothing to do with the abandoned 10 Things I Hate About Life. Gosh, a lot of... I keep stumbling over these, but 10 Things I Hate About You remains a terrific film. 10 Things I Hate About Life remains a story of a sequel that should have been relatively straightforward to get through the system, but tripped up for a bunch of reasons, I would imagine some of which are still unknown. I do think, this is my personal opinion, that if they'd had the money to finish it, by hook or by crook, it would have been finished, but some of it just didn't quite go to plan. Here's hoping the next 3 films have a little bit more luck.